Welcome back to the kitchen. You are here with Team M.A.D, Rational in the building, with your man, Twitch for Life, MrBroadcast, Author Yves, and today we're going to go and dive deep into why did Kevin Hart decide to leave us like that? My man Kev, stand by what you say, bro. We with you. We love you. This music is real fly, though. I like this. Don't turn it off. You put that shit on loop the whole time. I just talk through it. I don't care. I don't care at all. So did y'all, you seen the article, right?
Oh yeah.
You seen Kevin, like his responses and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'll say this about it. As a general blanket statement, right? There has to be a space at which people understand that public figures also have the ability to grow, expand, and change their perspectives and point of views, and you don't need to apologize for being ignorant.
Well, all right, so here's where I'm at that.
Yeah.
He should apologize for making a mistake back in the past, but he should see like the amount of blowback he's gotten because of it is completely unjustified.
Yeah.
Like, say we were to record one of these videos, and in there we're talking about the LGBT plus community in a negative way, and then 2 years later we're brought back. Somebody comes back and brings that up. Like, I would apologize, but I would apologize for what I said back then, but that doesn't represent who I am now.
So the original statement he put out wasn't necessarily an apology, but it was a representation that he's grown.
Yes.
He's like, I shouldn't have to apologize for things that I may have said in the past out of ignorance. I have obviously grown, right? And he was, to that point, like, he has put like more people on regardless of where they stand or who they are or what they're about. He's put more people on than any of the people that are giving him this blowback on a celebrity level. Like, he's put far more people on, and it's like, wait a minute, look at my actions, not at words I may have said in the past. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's valid. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And while most of us in a quick reaction would be like, you know what, I'm sorry for what I said in the past, but I don't think that's something that's necessary and should be expected to have to.
Absolutely. It's not something that should be expected.
Yeah.
It's something I think a decent person would sit back and be like, I do apologize for that. I was
correct.
Out of the line. That was a stupid thing. It does not reflect who I am today.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what he ended up doing.
Yeah.
I think my only issue with it from him was that he was like, I shouldn't have to apologize. I kind of did so already in the past. And then you go look at his reactions to those in the past, and it was like, no, I shouldn't have to apologize for that. I said what I said. So at no point did he actually apologize. Any kind of reference that he had apologized already. He had brought it up. So that's the only thing I'm like, if you're gonna apologize, actually apologize. And if you're not, don't say that you apologize.
I'm not saying he's 100% correct on everything. You know what I'm saying? Are there better ways to handle it from a public figure standpoint?
100%.
Absolutely.
But
to expect someone to retract everything they've ever said in life, even during a time where the things that he would have said wouldn't have been like, well, they weren't totally like, they weren't like, what's the word I'm looking for? Opposite a majority view, right? At that time when he put the statements out, and like, I can understand like where it would get a pass, right? Yeah. It's kind of like the slippery slope we talked about with Bill Cosby, right? The slippery slope as in, well, back then everybody was doing what he was doing. That was a common thing in like the 70s and the 80s. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make it right? And for illegal things, you obviously should be punished. However, a look at the level the culture was on is also valid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to have a view that's part of that culture's view at that time, but then to have transcended that and grown, you should not have to apologize once you've transcended and once you've grown. You shouldn't have to reach back and do that. No. You know what I mean? And the only time that happens to people on that level is when they're celebrities, when they're public figures, right? Like, I've said some shit in the past that, like, today I'm like, no, I don't believe any of that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I say some stuff now that in the past I'd be like, man, that's ludicrous, right? We change. Our perceptions change. Our experiences change, right? And that's just something that's just things that happen, you know? That's called growth. Mm-hmm. It's called the human experience, you know? And it's like people are being hyper vigilant about these little things and being petty, you know? And not to say that the statement is a little thing, but the expectation is. Right. And I just don't stand behind that extreme level of pettiness. Right. You know, and I'm petty. I'm petty people. Right. Well, I'm the petty-weight champion of the world.
I'll say like this. I noticed two people who came in Kevin Hart's defense on two different sides of that, of just making a point to stand by him and say, you know, when is enough, from Jerry Seinfeld, who stood by Kevin Hart and said he felt like the Oscars was losing more than Kevin Hart was losing by Kevin stepping down.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
At the end of the day with that, and then also going into the petty side of that, Nick Cannon, who came to his defense and posted the stuff from Amy, you know, Schumer, what's her name, Sarah Silverman, and a couple of other ladies, I think one or two other ladies too, and posting their previous tweets. And then also where Sarah Silverman herself said, I cringe at some of the things I said 10, 15 years ago. You know, so, and he's like, why is nobody charging at them for that?
Right.
You know, and to in line of the same week with Kevin Hart's piece, and I know you guys don't follow too much with the sports, but with Kyler Murphy winning the Heisman Trophy over the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
They, like literally hours after he won the Heisman, some reporter went and dug up tweets on him from when he was 14 years old to say, oh, look at this, look what he's saying. He's like, and so everybody, so, and other reporters came to his defense, like, the guy was 14, you know, and it goes back to Kevin Hart's point. Like, at what point, I'm not saying what I did was right.
Right.
But the guy was 14.
So
now he's 21.
Like ammunition to hurt somebody or to like
to dethrone them from their success.
You know, he's like, he's 21 now. You don't think like that's puberty. That's a whole moment of changing from 14 to 21.
The entire reason that the Oscars wanted Kevin Hart was because of his growth, not his ignorance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like to go at somebody's throat because of their ignorance, but then all of their success is stemming from their growth is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And it teaches the next generation the wrong thing, right? It teaches the next generation truly to be haters, right? And that's all that it is. You know what I'm saying? That's hating because, like, the people that came at Kevin Hart for that, they want to have what he has, and the only way they see to do it is to dethrone him, right? And it's stupid.
It's kind of it's kind of a power thing in the outrage. Like,
yeah.
And here's the funny part, without going too political, but bringing up this political charge of that is, it takes me back to doing the Kavanaugh hearings when it was all about how he had grown since high school and he's this other man, and not to dispel what the ladies were saying. I don't mean that part of it.
No, you're talking about the argument.
But I'm talking about the arguments that was being made.
And people accepting that argument.
Yeah.
The same people accepting the argument that's making the argument against Kevin Hart for the similar...
taking whether he did what he did or not, but just the argument that's saying he's a different man now and he doesn't, he's grown.
Right.
How can that not be applied to Kevin Hart or Kyler Murphy at this point?
And that goes back to my statement. it's not about any of it. It's just about being a hater. It's just about hating. That's really where it lies at. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid.
Because you notice, again, it's within hours or days after accomplishment happens. But look at this.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Why if it sort of comes out now? Like I said, you know, I mean, it's just funny how it all happens in the same week. Like the Kevin Hart to the Kyler Murphy piece, how fast we move to find these things.
Yeah. I just want to tell everybody right now on the podcast, like, I have used gay as an insult before, just to let you know. Like, so when I become famous and y'all trying to pull that out of the woodworks, I'm just letting you know, like, I did that. So you know now, like, I don't do it no more, but I did that at one point. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let you know now, like, I'm sorry for that. So don't be trying to Kevin Hart me later on, all right? That's all I'm saying. All right.
I think you guys will know, have a bit more to say on this than I do, but I think, especially within the Black community, that's a big
Stigma,
yeah, like the whole homosexual thing. And so I think where Kevin Hart's coming from, it's a very different environment than I think most of the people that are finding some kind of outrage at this understand.
They don't understand the social structure. Well, they don't understand the concept that the social structure in those environments, when you're talking about like the hood, when you're talking about the projects, when you're talking about people below lower middle class, when that's where they come from, that social structures are different, right? And power is based on a completely different set of things than what the rest of the world bases power on, right? Power is based on things like clean shoes. Yeah. Right. Power is based on things like, you know,
the fresh chain,
the new whip. Exactly. The new whip, all those things that you see in the rap video, the money, clothes, cars, and girls. That's where power is based out of, because the people who have those things found a way out of a situation, right? And they look at those. That's why in those societies, the weed man or the drug man, right? They are sought after and immortalized because they have all the things it takes to get out of the situation, which is money and options.
Well, if you're a good weed man. Because you got to be a good weed man, though. Yeah. But I'm joking. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And here's the add-on to what you're saying. Is going to when he made these tweets. Again, this is not a right or wrong or judgment on his part. It's just talking about the time period. It's not just in our African American community, but in general, the world was in a different place when it came to the level of understanding, the level of respect that was giving to the LGBT, community. It was different then. Again, not making it right or wrong. Not saying Kevin Hart was right for what he's saying. I'm saying that it was a time where people, the level of political correctness was different.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we are now and it being pushed to the forefront to have a level of understanding and respect is different than what it was then.
Right.
The level of experience of that whole thing was different.
So I'm gonna go further back.
Well, normalcy is changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here's going, man. So I've been going super hard, binge watching ER. Like I could probably walk.
There's better shows to binge watch, but okay, go ahead.
You say that. You say that. But if you haven't watched ER, no. I'm with you. But if you haven't watched ER,
I've watched ER. I grew up on ER.
All right. Well, 80% of the medical shows that are on right now.
I know George Clooney from ER, not Batman.
Have ripped off their episodes from ER.
Yeah.
But with that being said, ER pushed the envelope back in the 90s to where we are now, when the way that they pushed the level of HIV and AIDS and being allowed to on screen express your sexuality is way different than where it is now. Like, because it was such a stigma, it was seen as pushing the envelope in the 90s to even say it on TV.
But and now we have superheroes that are homosexual, and it's okay,
and so it's just a difference, and to see why, things that are now, I don't even want to say second nature, but things that are considered to our understanding level of normalcy, which it should have been normal back in the day, again. But physically on screen normal, on ER, they had to overemphasize it for you to recognize it. Like, they had to purposely create an episode where a guy was a homosexual dealing with HIV for you to understand the prevalence and importance of it, to understand because how real it is.
That culture was so hidden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now it shows, it's rent, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's the movies, it's things that are just out there, and, you know, it's orange is the new black, you know? And
where it's just, you know, not, I mean, not a lot of times this is kind of taken as a negative term, but it's wide open.
Right. You know,
and gone mainstream.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so to go, and like I said, that's going all the way back to the 90s, but just 5 years ago, it was not where it was now.
Right.
You know?
But then you take a look at that and what you were just talking about and how closed off it was, and then you take it to the black community, right, where Kevin Hart is from, and it's even more closed off because it's simply not acceptable in that time period to be black and gay. It just was not acceptable, right? It wasn't acceptable by your own community, and it wasn't accepted by the community outside your community either. And it was a double negative that did not equal a positive, you know. And you know, as unfortunate as that was at that time, you know, it's gotten better today, but it's still not where it should be. It's still not as openly accepted as it should be. And like, you know, to Kevin Hart's point, that's where he came from, but this is where he's at now. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like clowning a man for like riding a bike as a kid. It's like that's where I was at. I had a bike as a kid. Now I got a car. You know what I'm saying? Now I pay for my car. You know, it's like when we were kids, you know, it like teenagers really. Like, I don't know if you ever experienced this, Art, but you would get clowned if your mom and daddy paid for something you had. You know what I'm saying? When you were coming up on that 17 to 19 where you could get a job and buy your own stuff, and like people were proud of having bought their own things, but then if somebody else had their mama buying them a car, daddy buying them a car, they didn't struggle for it, they didn't achieve it, people make fun of that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of that same idea where you just clowning somebody for being in a situation like that's why. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have upgraded since then. Thank you. You know.
Yeah. I think it's I think the way you normalize things become normalized, and then they don't have the amount of power, in this case the negative power that they had at one point. I think it's comedian what's her name? Hannah Gadsby had a joke where she said, growing up, she knew more facts about unicorns than she did about lesbians. There are no facts about unicorns.
That's real. Yeah, that's real. Yeah.
It's like that's funny, but it's real. Yeah.
You know, I kind of quote it more so now than I did maybe 2 or 3 months ago. But Charlemagne the God's quote: "Live your truth, so nobody can use your truth against you." You know, you just gotta come out there and just be like, "This is who I am." Now what?
Yeah.
Right now you ain't got no ammunition. I took all of the wind out your gun. You know what I'm saying? And
Go bunny rabbit on.
I think Kevin Hart does a good job of that. Every time something happens, he comes right out and be like, "Yo, I fucked up." You know, and I think even this time he did the right thing and came out
eventually. I wish he just said that first. Like, you know what, I fucked up, but like I had fucked up in the past, or like said it in a way that's like, you know, I taken ownership of it, but then moved on and not. I wish he didn't drop out from the award show, because I feel like that's, I guess, they wanted him to like give an apology on stage. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess I wish a lot of different things happened. I wish he start right off the bat just saying, you know, I made a mistake back in the past, but I've changed now in the future. At first, he kind of said, I'm just not going to apologize for it, and he kind of like put up a strong front at first. And I wish he didn't do that at first. I
can understand where he's coming from though. It's kind of like that paradox of calling somebody a racist, right? And most people just don't understand what the word racist means, right? They don't understand the connotation that goes with that. And when you call somebody a racist, it's like, how do you prove you're not racist?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where he was at. He's like, well, I mean, how do I disprove this now that you've accused me of it? Like, you know, yeah, back in the day I said some dumb shit, but I'm not like that now. But then everybody's like, oh yeah, likely story. You just want to say that because, right? And then there's this whole narrative that goes with that you can never dig yourself out of. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate. You know, instead of using the proper term, or the proper thing to do would have been like, hey Kev, somebody close to him, hey Kev, hey man, look, you posted some crazy stuff back in the day, bro. What's up with that? And giving him the opportunity to be like, yeah, man, back in the day I was on some other stuff, but I see the world as a different place now. Boom.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it would have taken. Yeah. But instead we went the extreme petty route and then put this man in an impossible situation where, sure, like I said, there could have been a better way to handle it. You know what I mean? But hindsight's 20/20. You know what I'm saying? He did what he did. He said what he said. You know what I mean? And, you know, I agree with the baseline statement of he should not have to apologize, you know, for being ignorant in the past, but growing now in the future. Now, if you're still ignorant in the future, that's a whole different scenario. Right. You know what I mean? There's a whole different story. I just want everybody to know that. Like, I'm not defending ignorance. I'm defending growth.
Right.
Right.
Well, and okay, so I'm gonna just take what you just said right there, and in total agreement with you. And I think there is a balance of apologizing while showing growth with your apology is what he could have done. And what I mean by that is just like if you rob 18 banks and it's time for you to go in front of the board, there is some level of apology while showing I've grown over this time I've sat, you know, that you put forward, because without showing that growth, how sincere is that apology?
Well, the only way to show growth at that point is to show accountability.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That part of that accountability is that apology.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he just sits there and go, yeah, I'm just sorry. But I'm saying, like, hey, this is like we said, we've known he's done a lot of things for a lot of people since then. And that's part of it, saying, look, yeah, I said some crazy stuff then, but since then to where I'm at now, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've done. These are my true actions. And that's the part that people can, the actual physical, tangible things that you can see. And it's not just my words saying I'm sorry. Let my growth speak for itself by seeing the things I've done. So there's no need for me just to sit and apologize. Right. Because you can't discount what I've actually done. Correct. And he has that tangible history of things in the past 5 years that he's done. Yeah. And that's what I would have leaned on. Yeah. Because you can't discount that. Right.
You know, it's like the old statement my dad tell me all the time when I was, you know, working young retail, you know what I mean? It's like one oh shit knocks out 10 attaboys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like the moment you do one thing bad, it doesn't matter how many things you do good, people want to focus on the negative because they can get you, you know, and that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. You know, simply put, sorry, but that's bullshit. I was going to say something. It was real profound. At least to me it was. I don't know how profound it be to y'all, but it was profound to me, shit. But it couldn't have been that profound, I forgot. Anyway, so on to the next one. Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just playing back this discussion in my head. and not being petty, but being realistic. Because I got to make that little
not being petty, being real petty.
that little tweaking part. Because you made a comment and you was like, yeah, somebody from Kale's camp should have said, hey man, you said some stuff. It goes back to my point. Every discussion we have kind of like this, going all the way back to our Roseanne thing. You're supposed to have somebody on your team that your PR person that's saying, I'm watching what's happening to everybody else. Let me check your shit.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real.
Because think about it. He's had his same crew for years that can write your stuff for you. You should have had somebody sit next to you that's, let me check. This is happening. Let me make sure. Let me look at all the, no disrespect, Cav, but the minute the stuff went down with the side chick and your girl and all that stuff, you should have had somebody that 24/7 was on your stuff.
Just wipe the Twitter. Just
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Twitter.
They should have had access to all your accounts, all your little phones, everything you did to say, let me make sure there ain't nothing else out there that could come back and get Kev. Every time any other celebrity go down, you should have somebody checking to make sure that can't happen to you.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You get what I'm saying?
You're not wrong.
And that just come, you know where I come from with that. That's just being on all the time.
It's sad that the world's got to a place where that's necessary.
Right.
I mean, I totally agree. I wish it wasn't necessary.
Right.
There's,
Right.
there's a similar story came up last week, I think, where YouTuber PewDiePie, he was shouting out some smaller channels on his show, just talking about some small, creators that he enjoys watching and that he thinks should have some attention to them. And one of the guys he shouted out, he liked that this guy did, what was it called? Death Note, the anime,
Okay.
like reviews over the anime. And so he shouted this guy out. And then someone from, like, I want to say it's The Verge magazine or something like that, media company, they went through this guy's backlog and found that he had some neo-Nazi symbolism in some of his videos. And so they put out a article that said PewDiePie is supporting a neo-Nazi. And some folks, I mean, most folks are supporting PewDiePie in this just because it's ridiculous. But then you got some that are saying, well, you should have gone and done some research on the people that you're referencing in your video. And so that it's somewhat similar to the Twitter thing.
But these are the same people that's probably watching the same video and didn't know. And
Exactly.
Now that they know,
most
it's
people,
like a soapbox to stand on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, at what point does it matter? Like, I guess Twitter is a little different because that's stuff that you've actually done, the stuff that you've actually put out there. But at what point does that get too much? Where, say, you've got some kind of attention, some kind of following, some kind of audience, and then somebody goes deep into something. Say, for example, we were talking about some artist on the show, say like Blimes Brixton. Say if she somewhere in her past she was a neo-Nazi or something ridiculous. Like, where does that responsibility lie? Like, if somebody were to come at us saying that we supported a neo-Nazi on the show.
I mean, I have choice words for that person. I mean,
It's not too different from the Twitter thing.
But I'll say this: the one thing about this is me being extremely petty, but the one thing about somebody coming at us on the show is they better be ready for 3 educated men to come back with responses with I'm just saying 6 gun loaded. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we do. That would be the wrong place to come to. Right, because number one, you'd put us on a soapbox that we would appreciate to be on. Oh, yeah. Because we want the attention. But number 2, you're gonna get clowned.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You'll just get clowned, and that would be a mistake. But at the same time, you deserve to be clowned You know what I'm saying? So whoever did that to PewDiePie, because he's a fun-loving dude. Like, he doesn't ever do anything that's like racist. Like, okay, he's done some borderline things that have been viewed that way, but it's all for comedy.
Silly.
It's all for comedy's sake.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who said, "It's not offensive if it's funny." Right? Because there has to be a space for comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And going back to the whole Roseanne thing, the reason that it was so offensive is because nobody got the joke.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny.
Right.
Dave Chappelle has said some highly offensive things.
Oh, very, very much so.
But it was funny.
Kind of. I mean, I honestly, I didn't find it funny.
I found all of it funny. I found it hilarious.
It was a little. But see, I think that's, again, it's completely subjective. I took no offense to it, but I didn't find it funny. I just thought it was like, again, it kind of represented the culture he comes from.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, that's what I watch Dave Chappelle for.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want somebody to break the ice. I want somebody to push the limits. I want somebody to stomp all over the limits, but I also want them to be funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we need a chance to relax and laugh and, let that out, because there's truths that are funny, right? And that's the funny stuff. The real shit is the funny shit. Yeah. Who was it that said that? Cat Williams. The real shit's the funny shit. When he almost knocked himself out on stage with a microphone in the middle of his act. It was hilarious, right? And there's humor in everything. And we gotta find a place for that, right? Did I send you the video the other day with the British people? They were in a circle, and it was like the new age woke.
Yeah.
The woke people. It was hilarious. But it's like they find the fault in everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, chill out.
Everything is borderline
offensive to someone.
Yeah.
But then
wait, water's racist?
That was hilarious. But then you have my man Jordan Peterson that comes on, and he's become my new superhero. But he comes on and he's like, in order to think, you have to risk being offensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when he stumped your girl on the show, that was amazing.
Oh yeah.
When he just leaned back and just was like, I got you. Like, and you do in order to speak and really in order to grow. Like, in order to grow, somebody has to know what you think now and then help you move past it if it's wrong, or help them grow if it's right. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to move forward. Just recently I got asked a question and had a really short argument, but like it was kind of back and forth, you know what I mean? And in the process of it, I got made fun of. However, in this instance, I don't really care because I'm not wrong. But because it was a subjective question, right? And if you ask me a subjective question, there's no right or wrong answer to it, right? This is my opinion.
Because when I'm right, I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I'm right. Because even though I'm wrong, I could have been right.
But it wasn't a factual. It wasn't. There was no facts. Yeah,
I'm with you.
It was not objective at all.
It was completely subjective. The question was, if given the opportunity, would you sit down with Donald Trump? And I said, no, absolutely not. I said, I don't respect the man. Right? Mm-hmm. And so I got called a child and said I wasn't open-minded. And I'm like, well, why would that make me a child? And why would that not make me open-minded? I'm self-aware enough to know that would be a non-productive conversation because I have no respect for the individual, right? But I also am self-aware to know that if to do what I want to do in my space in the world, and I don't need to sit in front of him. Mm-hmm. That would be a waste of time. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think that's completely open-minded, right? I don't want to waste his time. I certainly don't want him wasting mine because I'm not trying to hear anything he's got to say, right? I know all I need to know in order to pass judgment.
Around and everything,
right? And it's like, the other thing that was said is like, oh, that's passing judgment. Sure. Right. I don't judge anyone for what they do, but I am allowed a standard by which I allow people in my circle.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're allowed a preference. I think that's
the word I'm looking for. I'm allowed a preference.
Huge.
Yeah.
Everybody has, if you're preferential in any way, you're in a way prejudiced towards something.
Everybody has a prejudice.
100%.
But the thing about a prejudice there is the reason that's built into the way we think is because it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be prejudiced in order to survive. Right? Because if we walk around not prejudiced, giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, when the dude walks up to you too with the gun in his hand and points you in his face and you go, oh, he might have good intentions. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Be prejudiced. Watch out for yourself. Be cautious. You know what I'm saying? That's supposed to be there. Now, when you're prejudiced based on an irrational thing, which like the quote unquote race, right? That becomes an issue, and it's an issue when it's aimed incorrectly.
Yeah. When the reaction to it is
when it becomes discriminatory.
See,
when you change what you do based on that prejudice, or you treat another person unequally because of that racial bias or the bias towards their sexual orientation or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because those are non-threatening things.
Yeah.
I
would say it seems to me like it's a gray area. It's not that I don't.
It totally is.
Totally
it totally is. It's totally a gray area.
It's that for people who aren't experienced in those types of things, like if you've never had an interaction with, for example, a Muslim person, you are gonna have your defenses up. If all you've ever heard about the Muslim,
I know exactly where you're going. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a personal responsibility there in order to have enough experiences
100%.
And have a diverse life experiences to where that doesn't become the case. Where I've interacted with enough people from enough different cultures that if I encountered someone from a different culture, I wouldn't treat them any differently because I recognize it as simply being a different culture.
I think that's the ideal.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that this is right by any means, but I'm saying for some people, I understand where that prejudice comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, if a black person, if every time you see a black person, they're robbing something or robbing a store or whatever, and you live in an area that doesn't have a lot of black people, but every time you experience life with black people, there's a robbery, of course you're gonna lock your doors when you see black people walk by. That's natural. While it's not right, you know what I'm saying? It's just that's how people are wired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I said, it's up to us to have diverse experiences.
Yeah. And so if all of your experiences come from TV, it starts skewing things the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Which is why, I know when we talked about the movies, and when we're talking about music, when we're talking about really anything, and we're talking about the black community, I'm always
the odd man out.
Well, yes, but no, I prefer movies featuring black actors in roles where they're intelligent and smart and doing better things, and not like Boys from the Hood, or not hardcore rap, like slinging drugs and guns and violence and Tekashi 6ix9ine crap.
I was very surprised to see a Wesley Snipes interview on the Breakfast Club, and very impressed, not necessarily impressed, but it gave me joy to know that Wesley Snipes doing the movie. What's the one he did with Denzel Washington?
New Jack City.
New Jack City. That's the one I'm thinking about. That wasn't Denzel Washington.
No.
But in the interview, he talked about Denzel Washington being in Mo' Better Blues. That's why it got me confused. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, New Jack City.
You mean that one? That's Sugar Hill, because he was a drug kingpin in Sugar Hill too.
But no, I mean New Jack City.
Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like the character he played in New Jack City, they actually had to ask him like 4 times to actually play that character. Like he said no. He's like, I don't think this is right for the community.
Yeah.
For a black man to play this character, and I like just for him to give that answer back and for him to be that conscious, that gave me joy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, now I respect the movie on a whole different level, because it wasn't just black actors grasping an opportunity to be in a movie. It was a conscious choice to play that character, but also to show the skill in acting, you know, and the ability to create that character, that Godfather-like character, you know. So, you know, I like to see that type of thing.
Definitely, I think that's the more opportunities we have of showing the black community or the gay community or the Muslim community or whatever in a positive light, in a productive, good way is better for the community.
Better for everybody.
Yeah.
It is better for everybody. Number one, it's better because our youth, our young people get to look up at a big screen and see people doing better. Doing better. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hashtag do better. Doing things that are outside of the norm. So they see different avenues in order, if they're in a situation where they want to get out of, or a poverty situation where they're like, yo, I can be a doctor. If I study hard, I could be a doctor.
Well, I mean? Here's backing it up a little bit with what you're saying right there too. And again, just a piece of politics, but where politics is a
petty piece of politics.
No, not being petty, honestly.
I was just the alliteration I was after.
Oh, okay. Is now there's levels. There's visible, tangible levels of reachable goals that before were just symbols of thought and hope that we just used in African community as sayings. But now we can physically see them, or the younger generation can physically see them as true possibilities. And what I mean by this, when Obama became president, I
changed the game.
We have right now, we've had the first African American female mayor in Atlanta, I think it is. We've got African American, judges. Like I think there was 6 or 7 judges that ran and won. It was congressman.
Wasn't it in like California, in like a district, like every judge was a black female,
right?
Every single one. So in that whole district.
This is crazy. Now what before it was you can be anything you want to be, is a reality now.
Yeah,
and so that's changing the way. That's changing the scope of the animated reality that we get on television, because now we can play roles that are real. Right. In life.
Right.
Because before then, all we had was the Cosby Show to go off in the 80s, right? Which pushed those boundaries. In Different World, which pushed the boundaries to say, you can go to school and be somebody.
Right.
Now,
but they had to make a plan to tell us.
Correct. But now we can physically see that in real life. And be like, no, there's more to do that you can be. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's huge. Like you said, when Obama became president, that let every little black kid know, like, hey, guess what? It happened. You can be president too, right? Before, it was saying it, and you were like, in the back of your mind, you were like, yeah, but I need them to believe it, but I don't know, right? But then it happened, and you're like, well, hey, can't do nothing but believe it now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's fact. But it becomes an issue when you have people that don't take that into consideration when they're making their claims against you. You know what I'm saying? Going all the way back to the original discussion with Kevin Hart. They don't understand how much damage they do when they make these when they make these unfounded claims against someone's past sayings and stuff like that, especially now jumping all the way forward with Kevin Hart, somebody that is doing the exact things we were just talking about for the black community. It's like, how dare you discredit, or not even credit, not necessarily discredit, but just not credit an individual for pulling his, the community he can see to a new level. He can't pull everybody.
Right.
It's just not possible. But he can do the best he can for the people that are climbing out of that crab in the barrel mentality and help pull them up. You know what I'm saying? And give them some bootstraps they can actually pull themselves up by.
Right. And, And with that, though, it goes back to my point of when you have your team and your team has your back, your team has to take everything in consideration, what it takes to hold your back up.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. You're right.
Because again, you got your team that's writing for you, but you have to have your team that's looking out for the ridiculous for you too.
Yeah.
And I'm in this process of saying that, I'm
need a conspiracy brother on your team.
Exactly.
You really do.
Yeah. And that goes back to my point. And this is kind of a shout out, but a realization of what we have coming locally right now with the folks we have right now with We That, the food. I think he's opened up like 3 spots around New Orleans right now, and he has his team, with Super Scent, who started kind of like an IG thing, and she started, the crayon case cosmetic thing. The wonderful young lady, and congratulations on the pregnancy. Hope your baby's doing well. But she did $1 million in sales in an hour and a half, man. $1 million. She opened up $1 million facility out here in Slide Down. Think about all the jobs she just gave people doing that. And that's the kind of people. And I'm saying, so I hope you got the right PR person on your team right now that's looking. Again, no disrespect when I say that, but you need, because you're the person they're coming for next.
Message.
You get what I'm saying? It's not about a mad rational plug, though. If you need us, we there. You right up the road. But being honest,
yeah, for sure.
You're the person, you're the people that they're coming for. Your team is who they're coming for next, because you're doing it. And there's he said, there's still the haters out there that don't want you to succeed. They smiling in your face, but they're looking for any reason
to backstab you,
to come down on your case. Bars. Yep. Didn't mean to do that on purpose. But I mean, so, because that's how it happens. It's all good when you're technically that nobody on IG, but the minute you become somebody, everybody's gunning for you.
Right.
And you don't think they watching you now? You hit the news, you in the paper, Essence is writing about you.
Yeah, for sure.
You did $1 million in 90 minutes. Somebody's watching. They're waiting for you to mess up because they mad. They mad that they miss out on an opportunity to be right there with you.
Yeah.
And they waiting.
They mad, but they not mad rational.
Yeah. There you go.
Hit them with the plug.
Because that's what, you see it at the top right now in the big house in DC. It's not the outsiders that's getting people. It's the insiders that got the dirt on you.
Yep.
And
it's the
so,
person
and
right
that's
next
the
to
one.
you.
And that's why I said you have to have that person on your team that is really watching for the ridiculousness, because they'll notice the person that's smiling in your face and tell you about it. But you got to be willing to listen and hear it for what it is too.
Yeah. That's real. I do this test every time I start talking to somebody, like on a relationship level, and I'm really glad in the beginning of social media I was just very bad at it, right? And it turned out to be like a thing for me, just to be terrible at social media, right? Because you can scroll all the way down my Facebook, all the way to the beginning, like my first day on Facebook, and you can read everything on there and you can't tell who I am. You know what I'm saying? Nothing on there is specific enough to my life for you to be able to tell who I am. All you know about me is I love music, dance, and positive things. And I like some funny stuff too. That's it. But like every time I get in a relationship, I get Facebook stalked. And they're like, damn, ain't shit on your Facebook. Nope. None of that. I'm terrible at social media. You know what I mean? But you got to be like that too. Like, I don't ever have a desire to like post up anything negative. Now, I do public service announcements sometimes, and that's to help people. It's not my fault if you fall into the category. Shoot. But with all that being said, the moral of the story is be better, do better. And if you're out there and you're looking at somebody's page and they did something incredible and you know something about them that maybe wasn't as kosher from the past, look, man, don't be a hater. Award the growth, respect the growth, and move on with your life. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that karma will come back to you where when you do something incredible, somebody won't throw you under the bus for who you used to be. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I'll say for that. You know, and as always, go ahead, hit that like button on the video if you liked it. And if you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell next to it so you get the notification when we drop the video. And we out, baby.